I've been working on ships on and off for probably 30 years. So when Nicholas approached me about coming to the seaport, I was, joyous.
Nicholas is Nicholas Bell of the Mystic Seaport Museum, a sprawling campus on the Mystic River in Connecticut.
We're 19 acres, over 100 structures, including a full shipyard, a 19th century seafaring village, also several formal museum galleries, and we thought this might be a wonderful opportunity for a contemporary artist to come in and experience all the different facets of the Mystic Seaport Museum and see what it was like to live here for a period of time.
Kevin Sampson lived and worked at the Mystic Seaport Museum for 3 weeks, creating a work of art out of an old dinghy and other objects from the seaport.
You're holding a piece of wood in your hand that is 200 or 300 years old. As a junk collector, as a self-taught artist, you can't find stuff like that more, and everything's IKEA, so So for me, this is the mother lode. Everything is old and aged, and that history means everything.
I've been familiar with Kevin Sampson's work for a long time. I've admired him, and it was only after I came to Mystic Seaport Museum that I began to pick up on how many works that Kevin has made over the years are connected to maritime themes.
Kevin Sampson's show at the Mystic Seaport Museum includes quite a few of his ships, as well as the new life-size boat he made there. Kevin's work is in the collections of major museums. He has a New York dealer, the Cavin-Morris Gallery in Chelsea, and he's constantly exhibiting in galleries across the country. But most of the time, Kevin can be found in the Ironbound section of Newark, New Jersey, often in his friend's woodworking shop.
Where does he get the ideas? It's just like, oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
Either that looks like a guy in a forklift, he's going to control it there.
Yes,
Kevin used to come in here and we talk, and we found we had a common ground on so many things. As time went by, we just became friends.
I can't think of his name.
Aristotle?
Later, he moved into the apartment where he's living now, and the bond just kept growing and growing, and he'd come down here to need a place to work, take all my scrap lumber and turn it into some of his fine art.
He's a master carpenter, so I learned a lot from the last 20 years of watching these guys work. When I build my sculptures, I bring them down for him to look at. And he'll shake them and he'll rattle them around, and if it's not stable, he'll yell at me and he'll make me fix it.
Before he became an artist full-time, Kevin was on the police force, where he became a composite sketch artist. In the 1990s, he retired early, moved to Newark, and hasn't stopped since. Everything adds to his art, including growing up with a well-known civil rights leader as a father.
I'm a civil rights baby. I grew up laying across picket lines and blocking traffic and that kind of stuff. And my father instilled in all of us, commitment to community. It was always about community. Many of my sculptures are political. Church, politics, and civil rights are all interconnected. So my work is about the spirit, but it's also, in many cases, political. I do a lot of research before I even start a piece, and it's usually based on history, some historical fact.
Kevin did years of research for the piece he created for the Public Service Electric and Gas Company's art wall in Newark. He was one of 14 international artists commissioned to create public art for a new switching station. Kevin chose to create a memorial for Kea Tawana, a self-taught artist and engineer with a mysterious past. In the 1980s, Kea built a giant ark in one of the most devastated areas of Newark, using materials from the buildings being torn down after the riots. People in the art world, as well as the neighborhood, wanted to keep the ark, and there was a fight to let it stay. But the city wanted it down, and they won.
And I've always been a little annoyed that the city tore it down and that it's never got the prestige that it deserved. I mean, that was monumental. Had we been in any other city, it would be, that's Newark's Watts Tower.
The Watts Towers in Los Angeles, built by Simon Rodia, an Italian immigrant and construction worker, are now a tourist destination. But nothing remains of Kea's art.
Can you imagine that big ark in the parking lot here? Because that thing was enormous. It would almost dwarf the church. I mean, whatever was there is gone. It's just everything's covered over with cement. It's new apartment buildings. So I spent the last 3 years studying Kea, and now she's on my brain. I can't get her out. And so after I did a Kea memorial, I wanted to take it a step further, and I'm like, why stop there? Because you're doing a public art project, it's limiting. You know, I had to work, a certain way. Here I can play around, but I'm not doing an arc. This is not Kevin's arc. I'm not going to even try to attempt to compete with Kea. How could I? I'm using a rowboat. She built the arc. You know what I mean?
The history of Kea's arc is part of Kevin's exhibition at the Mystic Seaport Museum.
I wish that I had had the opportunity to see Kea's arc when it was still standing in the 1980s. I think that what she did spoke powerfully about what was happening in Newark at that time. So we are very grateful at the museum that Kevin has brought to us this quite specific history of a ship and is helping us to tell that story today.
Kevin's new boat is called the Kye Kye Kule, after a traditional call and response song from West Africa.
Kye Kye Kule,
Kye Kye Kule,
Kye Kye Kofinsa,
Kye Kye Kofinsa,
Kofi Salanga,
Kofi Salanga,
Kaka Shilanga,
Kaka Shilanga.
Kum.
But I have a theory that Kea, when she built this arc, she put out a call. What I want to do here is put out the response.
Kye Kye Kule,
Kye Kye Kofinsa.
So I want to say, okay, Kea, you put out your call when Newark was devastated, and so I'm going to show you what's really happening now, which is gentrification, running the artists out with high rents. Most of the major cities, any place by the water in the country, you know what I mean? If you got a train station and water, it's under assault.